58-year-old Assistant Director of Corrections Vicki White is dead. Many of you have heard this already. Maybe some of you haven't. As you know, on April 29th, she helped 38-year-old Casey White, inmate Casey White, escape from the jail. And they are not related, although they both have the last name White. And they've been on the run for approximately 11 days now, and they were picked up in Indiana by the U.S. Marshals. It is reported, and reports are out, that Officer Vicki White shot herself and died from her own gunshot wounds. We'll probably learn more detail later, or we will, as we get some medical exam reports as they come in, and find out what the medical examiner's report says for the final cause of death, but that's what the reports are now. It's definitely a Jailhouse Romeo and Juliet suicide. You know, it's a shame that it ended this way. It's a shame for her family. It's a shame for her mother who got the news today. It's a shame for the sheriff and their agency to receive this news. Yes, it's very good that they were captured. Was it worth it? Unbelievable what some people will do when they fall in love or lust or they're manipulated by an inmate. Look at Joyce Mitchell at the escape at Denimora in upstate New York. Had she actually followed all the way through, she helped the two murderers escape up there. Had Joyce Mitchell actually met them in the car when they escaped from upstate New York, she may be in the same situation as Officer Vicki White and not alive today. Because, folks, inmates that use you to help them escape, and in both cases, the escape at Denimora and this escape here from Alabama, they're both murderers. They're both were in jail or prison for murder. And, you know, it's funny how Casey White, when he was captured the first time to be placed in jail, he gave up, but he wanted to give up to the sheriff. And in this incident, I heard that he gave up to the U.S. Marshals. He's quick to give up when caught. But look what he has done to the family and the agency and the co-workers of Vicki White. Now, is she at fault? Yes, she is at fault. She's at fault as well. If she had survived, she was going to go to prison. We know that. She was going to serve her time for the crime she did. And what makes... Okay, I'll start with the women first. I've done investigations with males, doing the same thing with female inmates, you know, getting in a relationship, promising them the world, bringing them contraband. But since we're talking about Vicki White, what makes a female fall for an inmate? Well, we know that the inmates can manipulate in many ways, and they play on you, the female officer. They watch how you act. They see how your self-esteem is. They listen to your conversations, and they build a profile. The inmates will build a profile on you based on how you act at work, what they hear about you at work, what you may say to them when talking to them, and what they know and see. And when they see low self-esteem, you know, someone that would easily be manipulated, a weak link in the chain, they will start manipulating by talking about how you look, how do you feel today, your hair looks great, and work from there. Now, in this case with Vicki White, I did hear somewhere that they'd had a prior relationship back in 2020. I can't confirm that, but if they did, this has been something that had already started before, a couple of years before, and the fire just kept going and turned into a huge fire where she, sold her house, put in her retirement papers the day before she left to take inmate Casey White out of the jail and help him escape. She had pre-planned all this. It was all premeditated. There's no doubt about that. It only lasted 11 days. What a way to end your life. 11 days helping an inmate escape on the run with an inmate that was in jail for capital murder. Unbelievable and very sad. Now, do I feel bad for her? Yes. I'm also angry at her for breaking the law, for tainting the shield, for tainting the image of the good, hard-working, honest officers. We've seen so many officers over the decades fall for this trap, fall for this inmate manipulation trap. I've talked to female officers in interviews after my investigation was done, and we substantiated with solid evidence that they have brought the inmate items into the prison, smuggled things in for them, written love notes back and forth between the officer and the inmate, even had some phone calls that were done by three-way calls from the prison to an inmate's family to the officer's home, trying to avoid being caught talking on the phone in the evenings. And I've sat down across the table from some female officers that actually were just crying, their heads down. And when I asked this one question after they admitted they had the relationship with the inmate, why did you do it? Some of the answers were as follows. My husband mentally abuses me, tells me I'm ugly, puts me down, tells me I'm stupid, and I come here and the inmate tells me how beautiful I am. He builds me up. He gives me pretty cards and writes me nice little love notes, things I'm not getting at home. Now, that's not an excuse to commit a crime, because having sexual relations with an inmate is a third-degree felony here in Florida. Having a relationship with an inmate endangers all the other fellow officers. And when they escape with your aid, it costs the taxpayers millions of dollars. So that's no excuse, but that's one of the answers I get. One female officer actually said, he's so much better than my husband. So much better in bed than my husband. Well, you're at a prison, lady, but you're taking him out to the waste management area and having sex with him in the pump house, But she said he was so much better than my husband, much harder. I'm just, hey, this is true prison stories, This is the true answers we get. Much harder, much more stamina. And I'm just like, whoa, this is just unbelievable, some of the answers I get. Most of them, though, always say that they're getting treated better by the inmate than a boyfriend. Some have said, I have no one on the outside. I have no boyfriend. He made me feel so good. Well, that's manipulation, folks. That's the inmate setting up a profile on you and manipulating you to do things for them, and then telling you how much they love you and all the things they're going to do for you when they get out of prison. Oh, we're going to be together. And in many cases, when the inmate got out of prison, they don't even give a second look at the officer. They just use them while they're in prison. And in Officer Vicki White's case, this inmate used her to escape from prison, as did the inmates in the escape from Denimora use the school teacher, Joyce Mitchell, used her. That's all they were doing, using her for sex, using her to get contraband, and they wanted to use her for a getaway car, and one of them didn't want to keep her around when they got out, and the other one didn't want anything to happen to her. But hey, she's very lucky she changed her mind at the last minute and decided not to go meet them. But this is a very sad story. A very sad story that someone could be manipulated so bad by an inmate that you would give up your pension, sell your house, and in the end, I was going to say not even have a Bubba, but now is not even alive. Not even alive. Why did she do it? Well, we'll never know why, but I'm guessing she did not want to face the consequences. Maybe she didn't want to face her family. Maybe she did not want to face her co-workers also, and the sheriff. And she probably did not want to do prison time. All because of this dirtbag inmate, Vicki White, who used her, like inmates will do. And, you know, I've always said, even after the investigations I did, when an officer lost their job, was placed on felony probation for bringing an inmate contraband, you know, losing everything they had, their families, their homes, their loved ones if they had one. Some of the female officers were single that were having a relationship with inmates that I investigated. You know, but you lose everything. Lose your certification, go to jail for a few days in some cases, and then go to court. And still, there will be more of these in the future. I just can't believe that the word is not out. How come you know all these cases have occurred? You can't be a female correctional officer working in a jail or prison and not know that these things happen, but yet some small percentage that taint the image of the good, hardworking officers will still fall for this inmate trap in the future. Guaranteed. Probably within a month, I can come back and show you a couple of cases where a couple more officers were caught bringing things contraband to inmates in a relationship with an inmate. It's almost like it doesn't sink in. This should be a lesson learned by anybody in uniform, man or woman, that thinks they want to have a relationship with an inmate. This case right here should come to mind. I don't know what it is. Tunnel vision. Tunnel vision. We, as officers who don't do these things, need to report every single time we see something suspicious. There were so many things wrong, and I did a video earlier, I'm not going to beat that horse to death again, but there's so many things wrong with the day that she took that inmate out of the jail. So many things that happened that it could have been stopped, and it wasn't. There needs to be some more training done over there for sure on what to look for and how to stop and how to check. Checks and balances is the name of the video. Watch that. I gave some real life examples also of checks and balances that we had here in Florida that helped out in a couple of situations. I'll stop now, but it was updated tonight that Assistant Director of Corrections, Vicki White, is deceased. Is it her fault? Yes, it's her fault. But, you know, you still feel bad for her to fall into that trap, or at least I do. Now, I would have wanted her to get at least 10 years prison for what she did. Just because I feel a little bad for her does not mean that I do not want her to be sentenced and punished to the fullest extent for what she did. She endangered citizens' lives, and she needed to be punished. I think Joyce Mitchell got an 8-year prison sentence, you know, so she needed to go to prison, but now the ultimate sacrifice has taken place. She is dead. And what will we learn from this? What will other officers in uniform learn from this? This should be used as a training scenario. This one and cases like the Joyce Mitchell case up in New York, these should all be used in training. And then that one officer sitting there that is having that relationship with that inmate, maybe it will send a spark into that brainwave somewhere and they'll stop. Because that's what we need to do. We need to stop all this nonsense. Thank you for watching. Gary York, True Prison Stories. Stay safe, stay straight, and be great. Thank you for your sacrifice, coming to work every day on that front line. Leave the inmates alone. They're there to hurt you in any way they can, use you in any way they can. And for those of you that watch that are former inmates, don't worry. I'm so sorry if I offended you, but look, you know darn well that the inmates will use officers or civilian staff to their advantage to get what they want. There's nothing they can do for a civilian staff member or a correctional officer. No good can come of it. Take care, everyone. Please subscribe.